In this chapter, we will explore the long-run equilibrium position for a competitive industry by reviewing the process of entry and exit in response to a profit level in the industry. We're also going to look at a long-run supply curve and the condition of constant costs, increasing costs, and decreasing costs. Right, the benefit of a competitive environment that bring into the industry new product, new technology, innovation is also discussed, along with an interesting look at the desirability of patent. Okay, so let's get started. To review the content of the chapter, again, the long run in pure competition. We'll review all the long run adjustment and also look at the long run supply curves. But we'll discuss the concept of efficiency in pure competition and conclude with technological advance in pure competition. So the long run in pure competition. In the short run, as what we discussed in the previous lecture, we know that the industry is fixed in both the number of sellers and also the plant size of existing sellers. But in the long run, all of these limits are relaxed, are easy. Firm will choose to expand, right, by enter the industry if there's a profit, right? If the industry experiencing economic profit, firm will choose to enter so they can expand, right? Firm also can choose to contract or exit a particular industry if there's a loss, right? If the industry experiencing losses, firm will decide to exit, to pull out of the particular industry. So the long-run supply curve is defined as a curve showing the prices at which a purely competitive industry will make various quantity of product available in the long run when all the input are variable. Okay, so again, when we talk about the short run, there's three different options that we look at. If you get recall, we talk about if the condition allow and there's a profit, well, the firm will try to maximize the profit. But if there's a loss because there's not that flexibility to pull out, what firm will do is you're gonna work on to minimize the losses. And there's also a case when there's neither loss nor profit, and if that's present to the firm, the only thing the firm had to do is to shut down for that time frame, right? And we show that on the graph when the price is below the average total cost or the average variable cost. If the price is below the average variable cost, that particular time, the firm will need to shut down. So in the long run, what we say in the long run, everything become variable, and all those limitations that we talk about are now relaxing, and firm have time to readjust, decide to contract, and change all the plant size, all the equipment they have. They can contract, they can expand also based on the what the industry is experiencing. There's a loss, expand. If there's a profit, you expand. by getting to the industry. You enter the industry to be able, because the profit will attract the firm to come to the industry. But if there's a loss in the industry, what the firm will do, they will try to leave that particular industry and put them investment in someplace else when it's more favorable. In our model, we will assume that all firms have identical costs, right? They have all identical costs. Therefore, they will all make the same production decision, right? Since they also face the same market price. So your competition, firm are the price taker, right? So in our model here, we'll assume that they all have an identical cost. And since they're all gonna go to the market and take the price that is given by the market. The goal of the firm is to make profit and avoid losses, right? And this is easy to do in a purely competitive environment due to the flexibility that is presented to the firm to easily enter an industry or exit the industry. You enter the industry when there's economic profit, and you exit the industry when there's the industry is experiencing losses. As a firm seek profit, they will be attracted to industry that experiences economic profit, like I said before, right? And as the firm enter the market, what's gonna happen is you're gonna see the adjustment gonna kick in, because as more firms get into the market in that particular industry, the supply curve, right, will shift to the right, because they're gonna produce more, they're gonna offer more supply to the market. So the supply curve, the supply will increase by shifting the supply curve to the right. And when that happens, it will put pressure, a downward pressure on the prices on the market, right? Because you produce more, there's more supply. And now what's gonna happen is they keep producing, now they're gonna put more supply, will put pressure on the price to come down, right? And as the price falls, now the economic profit will diminish, right? And keep diminishing, eventually it will reduce to zero, right? And at which point, for the firm, earn only normal profit. And at that particular point, you will see that the product price is equal to the minimum of the average, total cost, right? The price will be the minimum of the average total cost, and it's only normal profit is realized at that particular point. If the industry is experiencing economic losses, a firm will leave. And when firms leave the industry, you will see that they will have that reduction in the supply, and they're going to shift the supply curve to the left, right? And as supply falls, the product price will rise, right? The product price will rise until the economy losses are eliminated, and the price will get back to be equal to the average, the minimum of the average total cost, right? So once the industry has completed a long run adjustment process, it is a long run equilibrium, right? So we will have a disequilibrium in the short run, but the long run adjustment process is gonna kick in by firm getting, if there's a economic profit, and firm leave the industry if there's economic losses. And by doing that, in the long run, we will have that long run equilibrium when the price will be at the minimum of the average total cost. And at that point, only normal profit is realized at that particular point. Profit attract firm, right, from a less profitable industry to where they can earn more money, to more profitable industry. And losses will cause them to leave unprofitable or industry to put the investment in profitable area. So we can look at it on the graph over here. This graph shows you the temporary profit and the reestablishment of the long run equilibrium. So if we look at the industry here, if we started with the industry, what you realize here is a favorable shift, right, from D1 to D2. So if we have our equilibrium here, when the price is at 50, if there's a favorable shift from D1 to D2, and that creates the output, right, the output demand there, or the demand from 100 to 110. What you realize over here as the demand shift up, to put a upward pressure on the price. So the price shift from 50 to 60, right? Creating that economic profit over here, right? Because now we get more. The price is more than the original price, right? If this was is the original equilibrium, now that the disequilibrium of the market create that economic profit because the price now is higher, they're gonna entice all the firm to, or they're gonna draw the firm to that particular industry because there's a profit to earn, right? There's a profit to earn. So firm gonna get into the industry, and as they get to the industry, the supply gonna go from S1 to S2. As they are getting to the industry, producing more supply. Now the supply increases by pushing the supply curve from S1 to S2 and have the downward pressure on the price, and the price will come back again to 50. Right, so the long run equilibrium will be at the level when the price, which is MR, is always equal to the minimum of the average total cost. And at this level, only normal profit is earned, is realized at this level. So if we look at the case of temporary losses and the reestablishment of the long run equilibrium, you see that if there's a temporary losses on the market, what's going to happen is you will see that a decrease, right? A decrease in the demand, the decrease in the demand from D1 to D2, and a lower price, right, will drive some competitor away from the market. And the decrease in this, because once they are leaving the market, we realize that decrease in the supply, right? They're going to shift from S1 to S2, and by leaving the industry and reducing the supply curve going to also push to the left, which is a decrease in supply. and the market will get back to the equilibrium when only normal profit is earned, which is here, right? And that is also equal for the firm, is all equal to the price is going to be equal to the average to the cost when we have the profit maximizing point. So now let's look at a long run supply curves. So we're gonna review the three different scenarios that we have. The first scenario is the constant cost industry. Basically, the constant cost industry is industry where the number of firms for entering or exiting the industry does not affect the cost of the material. So the cost of resources remain constant. And this is kind of a special case. You don't see that often. The second scenario is what you see most often in the economy is the increasing cost industry. And in increasing cost industry, entry or exit of a firm does affect the resource price, that affects the cost. Right. Input costs will increase as a firm enter the industry because there will be a need for a large demand for those resources. So the resource price will increase. Right? And input costs will fall as the firm pull out of the industry. And for the increasing cost industry, you will see that the supply curve is absolute open. Right? Because of that, the supply curve is absolute open. The last scenario is the case of a decreasing cost industry. And in this scenario, as the number of firms decrease or increase due to entry or exit, the industry costs change inversely. Right? If demand for the product for a firm will leave the industry, causing input costs to rise. Right? And if the demand of the product increase, the firm will enter the industry, right? Causing input costs to fall. Here, the long run supply curve is a downsloping curve. An example of this type of industry would be something like a personal computer industry and the shoe manufacturer in America, the shoe manufacturer and personal computer industry are an example of decreasing cost industry. So now let's look at it on the graph. So this first graph over here is it represents the first scenario with the constant cost industry. You can see that the entry and exit of a firm does not impact the product prices on the market. Therefore, does not affect the unit cost. So an increase in the demand over here from D1 right, to D2, right? It moved the output from 100,000 to 110,000. You see that the price remain the same. Similarly, if there's a decrease in the demand from D1 to D3, right, that reduces the output from 100,000 to 90,000, but the cost remain the same, 50. Right. So the supply curve in this case is a horizontal line parallel to the output axis. So now let's move to the second scenario, case of increasing cost industry. The long-run supply curve for this type of industry is absolute open. You can see that is that positive correlation between the price and the quantity. In this type of industry, entry of a new firm in response to increasing demand from D3 to D1 and to D2, right? It will build up resource prices. Therefore, you will see that increase in the cost per unit from 45 to 50 to 55, right? And you'll see that, and as a result, you see the quantity, right? Let's increase the quantity, 90,000, 100,000, and 110,000, right? And corresponding at a 40, 45, 50, and 55. So you see the positive correlation between the output and the unit cost or the price. And that explains this absolute open shape of the long-run supply curve from Y3, Y1, and Y2. So the last scenario that we discussed is the case of a decreasing cost industry. So the long-run supply curve for this type of industry is downsloping. In this industry, the entry of new firm in response to an increase in demand, right? D3 to D1 to D2 will lead to a decrease in output prices, right? So see the output prices decreasing from 55, 50, and 45. And consequently, you will see the decrease in the unit cost as well. As a result, an increase in output from Q3, 90,000 to Q1, 100,000 to Q2, 110,000, which is accompanied by a lower prices from 55 to 50 and 45, right? And that explains this downsloping long-run supply curve, X3, S1, and S2. So the concept of efficiency, we're going to bring the concept of efficiency here and also see the formula that will show you that you are realizing efficiency. If you guys recall from the previous lecture, we discussed the component of efficiency, which are the productive efficiency and allocative efficiency. The productive efficiency here is producing goods and services in the least cost way. And how you know that is the price is equal to the minimum average total cost. And how you do that is to be able to use technology, rely on technology, innovation, find a better way to increase your productivity and produce at least cost. Allocative efficiency is that uses scarce resources to produce the mix of goods and services that society desire the most, right? So these two, the productive and the allocative efficiency, both of them are very important to realize the efficiency to use efficiently the scarce resources, produce the good that society value the most. So when you realize the above efficiency, you see that you get this triple equality, right? The first one being P, price equal to minimum average total cost, which is for productive efficiency. And the allocative efficiency is where it's producing where the price is equal to the marginal cost. So for both efficiency, you will have the price equal to the marginal cost, equal to the minimum average total cost. And when you are producing at that level, both the consumer supplies and the producer supplies are maximized. And the next slide gonna show you illustration of this concept. So for productive efficiency to be realized, we must produce an output where the price is equal to the minimum average total cost, right? And the condition for allocative efficiency is to produce when the price is equal to the marginal cost. So you can see that at this junction over here, when we have the price P and the quantity QF, we meet above efficiency, and the price is equal to the minimum average total cost for productive efficiency, and also the price intersect with for the marginal cost, which is allocative efficiency. Okay. So pure competition achieves above efficiency in the long run, right? And this is very important because it indicates that firms are using the most efficient technology, right? Charging consumer the lowest price and producing the greatest output consistent with its cost. Firm user society scarce resources, right, in accordance with consumer preferences. So here, if we look at the market here, you can see that the consumer surplus is represented here by this green triangle, right? And the consumer surplus, by definition, is the difference between what consumers are willing to pay for, right? What the consumer are willing to pay for, which is when you project the demand to the price axis, you see that what the consumer are willing to pay for this quantity, and the market price. So the market price here being P, and you can see that the consumer are willing to pay for a price greater than the market price. So the differential between what the consumer are willing to pay for, the maximum that the consumer are willing to spend on the good, and what the market offer represent the consumer surplus. For the producer surplus, it's the difference between the minimum that the supplier are willing to sell the good for and what the market offer them. In our case over here, you see that in this supply, they are willing to accept all the price here, right? So if you project any point on the supply curve to the price axis, you see that they are willing to get all the price, the minimum price here, and the market offer them something greater than what they are willing to accept. At that point, this blue area represent a producer surplus. So when both efficiencies are realized, we say that both a consumer and producer are better off. So the surpluses are maximize. So the dynamic adjustment will always happen in a pure competitive industry. What change in demand, resources, supplies, or technology happen, right? When those changes happen, a temporary disequilibrium will occur and cause expansion or contraction of the industry until a new equilibrium where the dynamic adjustment will happen and a new equilibrium will reestablish. So something will happen temporarily, that's going to create this equilibrium in the market, but the dynamic adjustment in the pure competitive market, right, will happen, and at the end, a new equilibrium will be established at where the P equal MC and equal the minimum average total cost. And that's what we refer to as a invisible hand, the concept of Adam Smith, that to portray that dynamic adjustment, right? That happen automatically on the market. Whenever there's a disequilibrium in the long run, you see that will happen because of firms. All of them want to maximize their goals, to maximize profit and eliminate their loss, right? With that logic in mind, whenever there's economy profit, they will go. Whenever there's a economy loss, they're going to pull out of or down market where they experiences loss. So the adjustment will happen, right, without any explicit order given. So that's what we alluded to or refer to as an invisible hand. Innovation and technological advances, what it means is a better technology and improved business condition. So new product development means that the firm may be the first to the market with that new product or new technology, but other firms will soon follow and even may destroy the innovating firm position, because everybody is competing for that economic profit. And the only way to get it is to invest in research and development, find a better way to be able to deliver the product at least cost way, get the product at least cost way, and also produce what is the society value the most. So since everybody's in it and they all have to take a market price, so everybody compete by coming up with a new way of doing things, developing new product. And by doing so, you see that competition. You might be the first one to come out with a technology, but your competitor will probably going to beat you. Will probably going to come up with something that may impact your or destroy your innovative position on the market. So that you see that permanently in a competition. So it's what we refer to as creative destruction. And the concept is just the idea that the creation of new product and new production method will somehow destroy the market position of a firm committed to existing way of doing things or old way, right? The firm that committed to the existing product or old way of doing things will lose that innovative market position, innovative position that they came up with in the beginning, because older people will come up with something that would bring the initial firm down, right? So an example of that concept you can see today is when the CD compact disc technology being replaced by iPods, right? And you see that iPad also is being replaced with a smartphone, which you have ability to play music, right? Even better ability to play music, and give consumer that flexibility and also that productivity. So another example is the faxes, right? And email have affected traditional postal service, right? Online retailers such as Amazon challenge or take business away from the traditional brick and mortar retailer. So the last word of the chapter, as I alluded to, Elon Musk, as he says, right? And the idea here is show you that how in the short run, a serial entrepreneur can be profitable by coming up with innovative way of doing things or developing new process to solve a problem. But in the long run, the rival, because of the initial firm that came out with a technology is making profit, that profit gonna draw the rival, right, to also get into that industry, right? Or copy the technology and readapt it to come out with a better technology. So you will see that if you have a market position or innovative position today, that probably is in the short run, because that economic profit that you generated gonna draw other firms into that industry. And likely you won't keep that market position for long, because other people gonna challenge you, other firms gonna challenge you, because they are drawn in by the economic profit that is realized on the industry.